Kuf Yud Tes Amud Aleph. We'll begin right at the bottom of Kuf Yud Ches Amud Beis, the last line. Continuing on with the Amoraim said that they should get a special schar for a special mitzvahs that they're mekayim. You should get a special reward. When I see a Talmud Chacham that Masai Masechta, it says he makes a Yom Tov, he makes a Suda, makes a special siyum for the Rabbanan. Not only for the Messiah, but for the other Rabbanan as well. So he makes a special day for them. He makes a siyum. See the chashivas of making a siyum and giving special kavod Torah when a Talmud Chacham is Messiah Masechta. He should deserve a special schar. Also, term the Rabban will come on Ladina when a Talmud Chacham comes to me before for a din Torah. I don't let my head lean on a pillow until I turn over and find a schus for him, and I go back and forth ma'ayin to find a special schus. I don't rest until I find a schus to be mezakim bedin. Meaning, of course, he has to done the din la'mitay, but he exerts special effort and doesn't rest until he's able to find a schus for the Talmud Chacham. Amar Mar Baravashi Psilna Le'Tzarban Ladina. He said he's possible to paskin on a din Torah which involves a Talmud Chacham. My taima the Chaviv like a gufay, because he loves the Talmud Chacham like a gufim, like himself. So he's a korov to himself. Just like a person doesn't see a chayv in himself. He's not gay b'davar, so he can't paskin the din Torah Talmud Chacham because the Talmud Chacham is chavav to him, precious to him, kegufay. So just like he can't paskin on his own din Torah, he can't paskin for a Talmud Chacham either. Coming back to Kavod Shabbos, Rav Chanina Rav Chanina would clothe himself in his choshev clothing and Shabbos clothing, and before Shabbos came in on the onset of Shabbos, and he would say on the Friday evening, he would say, Omar boy v'neitze likra Shabbos hamalka. He said, come, let's go and greet Shabbos hamalka, Shabbos the queen. And he greeted Shabbos and as if he's the queen. Rav Yana lavish mane mali shabse. Rav Yana would put on his Shabbos clothing, and before Shabbos, Omer boy chala. He said, come, kala, boy chala. Which is, of course, what we say in L'chal Doidi when we greet the Shabbos, and in Kabbalah Shabbos, we welcome the Shabbos in. Rabbi Rav Huna, Iklube, Rabbi Rav Nachman, they went to visit the house of Rabbi Rav Nachman. Krivale, Klasasave, they brought 3 saw of wafers that had oil, that were saturated in oil. Rashi says either that they were oil or they were from fat of an animal. It was considered to be a special delicacy. So he said, how did you know that I was coming? How did you know to prepare this special dish for me? These special wafers, how did you know I was coming? Are you more chashuv to us than Shabbos? We prepared for Shabbos. We prepared this special machal for Shabbos, and you happened to come. The Mefarshim speak out. How is it that they had these wafers that were made out with oiled with fat? It's also to have fleishige bread, because people don't know, and they won't know, and they'll eat it with milchiks. So the answer that Shabbos, there were Shabbos macholim, and the Shabbos macholim look different. So like the Ramah Paskins in Yeridea, that if the bread has a distinct look to it and they know it's not regular bread, then it is much under those circumstances. Rabbi Ava he would purchase with 13 astirs, these types of denominations, meat from 13 butchers. And he would put the meat on the doorway to the kitchen. And he would say, he would say, hurry, go ahead, hurry and prepare these things. And meaning before I'm going to bring some more meat. So here, take this and quickly prepare this before the next meat comes. Rav Ava, who was very wealthy, stood on a stool made out of ivory, and he personally would fan the fire that was used for Shabbos. He personally, as we'll see, the Maroyim themselves were Isaac personally in the preparations for Shabbos. He was very wealthy, so he sat on a stool of ivory, and he himself would fan the fire. He would put on a black cloak, black clothing. When he did his preparations for Shabbos, he did not make the preparations with good clothing. He put it with dark clothing that would not bother him if they got dirty. A person should be careful in his clothing, and he should not have the same clothing that he cooks for his master. Should not be the same clothing that he serves to his master. So he put on, when he did his preparations for Shabbos, in his cooking, he would use the clothing that were distinct clothing for not his clothing that he would wear for in a bekavadig way, that there were clothing that were used for cooking, where a person would get dirty from them. Rav Safra, again, continue on with the Amoraim, that they personally were Isaac in the preparations for Shabbos. Rav Safra, what he would do, his minig was that when after they shechted an animal, he would singe the head of it, had to burn off the hair, he would singe the head of it. Rava mal shivuta was a fish, considered somewhat of a delicacy. Rava would salt the fish for Shabbos. Rav Huna maltik shraga, he would light the candles. Rav Papa gadol tzilta, he would be megadol the wicks, he would twine the wicks. Rav Chisda param silka, he would chop the beets. Rav Yosef metzalchi tzivi, they would cut the wood. Rav Zera metzate setuse, they would light the fire. And you see over here that there's this, they did the personal preparations for Shabbos, and some of them relate specifically to the lighting of the neiros. Now it's a meaning that the husband also personally does some sort of preparation in the hadlakas neiros, even though it is the woman who madlik the neiros, but the husband does some sort of preparation for these, prepares the wicks, prepares the matches, to make it. He also has some personal involvement with not only preparations for Shabbos, but specifically the hadlakas neiros. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak mekatav v'nofi, he would take bundles and bring them in and out of the house, meaning he would bring in groceries or things into the house that are needed for the preparations of Shabbos, or take things out of the house and clear areas for Shabbos. Omar il Meklali Rabami Ravasi, he said, if we had a special guest, if Rabami Ravasi came to visit me, we're special guests, so mi loy mekatvina kamaya, would I not lift things up, bring things in for them for their covet? So certainly I should do it for the covet of Shabbos as well. The Ikadamri, some say Rabami Ravasa that they are the ones that used to bring in and out the bundles, and they said, Amre ilo ikulan Rabbi Yochanan, Niloi Mikatvina Kameh, if Rabbi Yochanan would come. So certainly we would machabed him and bring in bundles. So certainly for Shabbos we would do it. Yosef Micah Shabbat. Yosef, there was a person called Yosef who was Machabed Shabbos. It was Micah Shabbat. It was Machabed the Shabbos. Havahu Nachri Mishra would say there was a certain Nachri in his neighborhood, and the fish and that he was very, very wealthy. So Amr Kaldoi, the stargazer, said that Kulu Nichse Yosef Micah Shabbat Achalu. They said to him that all your wealth, Yosef Micah Shabbos, Yosef, the one who's Machabed Shabbos, he is going to take over all of your wealth. So he was very worried about this. He was very concerned about it. Also, Zabina L'Kul Nechse. So Azal, he went ahead and he sold all of his possessions, and Zavin Bu Marganisa. And with that money, he brought a precious stone. He was worried that Yosef Micah Shabbat would take his possessions, so he sold everything and had this precious stone, which he would keep under his watch and guard all the time. So he put it in his hat. Rashi says that he sewed gold settings in a special hat and put in stones, and this precious stone was sewn into this hat. When he was passing over a river, so he went over the bridge. A gust of wind came and blew the hat into the water. A fish swallowed it. So as fish swallowed it, so the fishermen came, they caught this fish that had swallowed the stone, and it was Erev Shabbos, and they brought it up on Erev Shabbos late in the day. Who will say it's right before Shabbos? Who will buy a fish at this late hour? People said, Zilo am to you, the ruggles of it. Bring it to him, to Yesem Meiker Shabbos. He's Mechabit Shabbos, and even in the late time of the day, he will, if there's something special for Shabbos, he'll buy it. He'll buy it. I'm doing it. They brought it to him, and he thought he bought it. So he cut open the fish, and he found this precious stone. He sold that stone, and he was able to fill up 13 attics with gold dinarim. A certain older person came upon him, Omar, and he said, Man de Yosef, Shabsa, Pare Shabsa. The one who borrows for Shabbos, Shabbos will pay him back. Yosef Meiker Shabsa used to spend money and do everything covered Shabbos. And L'chaira means that he knew that even that he would, when he didn't have the funds, and maybe even in this mice, it was late in the day, and he bought that fish, and even if he didn't have funds, he had to borrow for it. The ones who borrow for Shabbos, Shabbos will pay him back, and Shabbos will repay him, and he was therefore repaid with this a tremendous amount of ashiras. The wealthy people in Eretz Yisrael, what schools do they have that they should have all of this wealth? Because they give meiser in Eretz Yisrael. There's a chiyuv to give meiser. They give meiser, and through that schools, there's zoicha to ashiras. Shenemer aser ta'aser, aser b'shul tisas asher, aser tisas aser. Take the meiser, and through that you will become tisasher. You'll become wealthy. So he asked, what are they zoichen bavel for ashiras? So he said, because they give kavod to the Torah. They give kavod to the ashiras. In other lands, in other regions, through what schools do they have that there's zeicha to ashiras? The Mechaber is Shabbos, and Shabbos pays them back and pays them with the ashiras. Some of the Farshim saying, and we have in this Maisa, Yomi Masechet Shabbat, that he was blessed with 13 attics. It's the Lashon the Maral says that 13 is the Lashon of Davar Ruchni, that, and perhaps the pshat is in these other cases as well, that through the performance of these mitzvahs, they were zeicha to wealth, to ashiras, but they were zeicha to ashiras. Perhaps the pshat is that it came through a mitzvah, and it comes through Shabbos, and it comes through Mechaber Talmidei Chachamim and Meisers. It has not only a Davar Gashmi component to it, it has a Ruchnius component as well. And this ashiras is ashiras that is beneficial to them. Not like the ashiras of the Umas Oilam, it's the ashiras that has a ruchnistic component, and it comes from the source of it. The makor of it is the Dover Shebekadusha, and therefore it facilitates further Devorim Shebekadusha. So the Mechaber Shabbos, and that's why they were zoicha to that. He said one time he was a guest, and Mr. Balabais in Ludke. And came mealtime, they brought a table, a golden table that took 16 people to carry, and it was so heavy. It was a gold table. And had 16 silver chains attached to it. And there were plates and cups and drinking ladles and bottles in it. Va'alav kol mine machav kol mine meganim b'somim. And on the table, there's all kinds of delicacies, food, and delicacies and spices. When they put the table down, they said, Lashem Aretz Maloyim. When they remove it, they said that for Shemaim Lashem, Vata Aretz Nasan Livnei Adam. Actually, when in Brachas we learned also, we saw that it was brought down, and we saw the Tosis in Brachas, that kan lefnei bracha, kan lacha bracha, before saying the proper bracha, it's that everything belongs to Hashem. Lashem haaretz u'malayim. But after bracha, we were zoicha to it, and Shemaim, Lashem haaretz nasan levnei adam. But al kapanim, we see over here that this is fantastic wealth. So amarti lo b'ni b'meh zachita lecha zachisa lechach. What was your schos that you were zoicha to this enormous wealth? Amrali kol tzavayisi. He says he was a butcher. The butcher became so fantastically wealthy. And he said, Mikol behemishah. He said, no, amarti zotel Shabbos. And when he saw, he said, good quality meat, he said, oh, this should be for Shabbos. So he was machabed to Shabbos, and through that he was zoicha to this great assurance. Amarti lo yashrecha shazachisu baruch hamachim b'shezikcha lekach. Ashrecha, how fortunate you are, you're zoicha, and Baruch Hashem, who was mezaki you with his great wealth. Omer leKesar Rishu ben Chanai. Kesar said to him, why does the Shabbos food have such a special aroma? It has a special smell and aroma that it travels and it's dispersed, and you can smell this special aroma for distances, from great distances. We have a special spice, and that special spice creates this great aroma. So what is that spice? The Shabbos Shemayim. It's called Shabbos. Shabbos gives this special reyach to the machal. So we have this special and we put it into the food, and that's why the reich is noidef. So he said, well, give us some of that. It only is beneficial, it only helps for the people who are Shomer Shabbos. And if you're not Shomer Shabbos, it's not going to have that effect. The Pasuk in Yeshaya says, and it says, so what is the Kadesh Hashem that it's referring to? It's a reference to Yom Kippur. There's no eating on Yom Kippur, there's no drinking. It's the Kadesh Hashem. It's a day that's Kodesh for Hashem. It's mechubed. You have to be mechabed it. So how are you mechabed Yom Kippur? Amratera kabdeo b'ksus nekia. How are you mechabed Yom Kippur? So you're mechabed with ksus nekia, with clothing, clean clothing, special clothing. It says if you mechabed the Shabbos, Rav Amar lahakt. The Pasuk in Yeshaya, it continues, says, Ki barata yimachabed Shabbos. What is the way yimachabed Shabbos? Lahakte. That means to eat the meal earlier than you normally eat. Shemul Amar la'acher, to eat it later than you usually eat. Either to eat it earlier or to eat it later. Either you eat it earlier, so you show that it's a special day, that you eat earlier than normally, or eat later so that you eat with greater appetite, that you're hungrier. But you have different meal times on Shabbos. They show that Shabbos is a special day. He says, he said they were wealthy. They used to have meat and wine every day. So how are you going to make it different than Shabbos? How are you going to show the Shabbos meal is different and special? If you normally eat your meal early on Shabbos, make it later. If you normally eat later, make Shabbos earlier. Make the mealtime different to show that it's a special day. Rav Sheshes b'kaitim Meisel Rabbanan Hech Damacha Shimshon. Rav Sheshes, he was a sagi nor, so he couldn't see. So what he used to do is, in the summertime, then he used to have the Talmid Chachamim, he used to seat them where the sun would shine on them. So that meaning he didn't want them to delay the meal. And then they would know when it's getting too hot, the sun was shining on them, was beating on them, that they would know there's time to get up and go to the meal. The Sisra, in the winter or in the fall, in the winter, he would place them where they would be in the shade and would get cool. That they should go and not delay, and either in the summer when it was warm, they should know to get up to the meal, and in the winter, and they would also know that it was cold and it was time to leave. Rabbi Zera, he would find pairs of Talmid Chachamim, he would go after them on Shabbos, and Amrlo, don't be B'chal Shabbos. It's time to now go for the meal. Go to eat your Shabbos Suda. So we'd make sure that they didn't delay and they would Mechamed Shabbos by going properly to the meal.